Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I'm back with another stepped up emergency card kit for kit 31. We have a double theme of nerds and graduation. So we start with all of our nerdy sentiments in circles, rectangles, and then strip sentiments in 4 fonts. And I've separated the graduation sentiments so they're easier to file. So you get them with the circle around it and without the circle around it, just so that if you're using a different size circle or a different shape, it's really easy to cut those out as well. On the last page of the original kit, there's a card sketch with measurements. We made 3 cards in the first video, and I'll show you those again at the end of this video. But today, we're going to step up the original sketch and make a fun fold version of it. These kits are 100% free for subscribers. So if you are interested in these kits, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified every time there's a new free kit. To get started on card number 1, we're going to create that gray matte layer. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm using the classic backdrop embossing folder. It's a 3D folder from Spellbinders, and I love this one. It's great for all cards. But instead of the standard rectangle layers on the pink and purple parts of the card sketch, we're going to use the mirrored arch labels from Spellbinders. I've chosen 2 in the middle that are about the same size as what's in the card sketch. And so I am just gluing on my embossed panel, and then I will glue those 2 labels together. I have one in black and one in a shimmer white cardstock. And I love that you can use really any nested shape die here to change up the look of your card and your card sketch. I love how this one is going to create this lovely home for our layered sentiment. For our focal image, I'm using the fresh picked anemones. You guys, I truly wasn't sure if I was going to like this die set when I requested it. And they sent it to me, and I made one of my favorite cards maybe ever. And I have just been biding my time before I put it in another video. Again, I try not to show you the same thing over and over again, but they're so good. And these are really quick and easy. So I layered up some gold foil cardstock onto black. There's one that has little sort of dots cut out of it. And then you layer that again on top of a larger black piece as well. Then I'll glue those onto the bloom in the back. Last time I made these, I did some ink blending to make that part darker, and I ink blended onto the bottom of this front piece so that it was darker, and like, it doesn't even need that. It's so good. I did put some really thin black foam at the bottom. They're these super thin waffle flower black foam strips, just because there's so much cardstock there, and I didn't want it to be all wonky and for that pink piece in the front to lay at an angle. Then I'm adding my flowers to my labels. This is as simple as it gets, friends. Like, we're not ink blending, we're not doing anything super fancy. I'm just gluing pieces together. It's why I love die cutting, right? Anybody can die cut. All you have to do is glue them together, and it typically shows you exactly how to do that. And it's super simple for beginners. I added a little bit of thin foam. It's 1 millimeter foam from Simon, just because there's a lot of texture and dimension on that embossed panel, but you certainly wouldn't have to. I'm just impatient, and this sticks it down a little bit faster. Then I'll go ahead and add my blooms onto my leaves, and I'm ready for my sentiment. This is moving so quickly. Seriously, you guys, the raw footage from making this card was less than half an hour, including all my creative time. Like, that's insane for me. Here, I have my 1 1/2 by 2 1/2 inch rectangle in black, which is my normal mat for a rectangle sentiment. But then I also cut one that was 1 3/8 by 2 3/8 in gold mirror to go with it. Then I have my 2-inch circle, which is a normal circle sentiment mat. And I cut a 1 7/8 inch circle in gold mirror, and I'm going to layer those right on top of each other. This is from the sketch, right? When I was playing around, I just loved how those looked right on top of each other. And when I put this on my card, I'm going to make it so that those nest right into the valley of that label. And it's so pretty. It looks like a lot of bling right now, I'll be honest. But we're going to cover it up, a lot of it, with this sentiment. This is from the Plants and Flowers kit, and I will link it at the end and in the description box below. It's another free printable. These come out on the 1st and 3rd Fridays of the month. But that's it. I love this card. For card number 2, there's a whole new page to the printable. We're starting with the piece on top. It's 11 inches by 4 1/4, just like normal. And it is going to be scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. And it's telling you how to fold them. The first is a mountain fold, right? So the mountain goes up, and the second is a valley fold. So it's just a Z fold card, right? Nothing really fancy here, but we're going to use it in portrait. Then I have a piece that is 11 inches by 3 1/4 inches, and I'm going to score at 2 inches, and then it's 6 1/2, but my scoreboard's not that long. So if yours is short like mine, flip it around and score it at 4 1/2. It's right in the middle of that larger section. So I'm going to put it back the direction of the printable, and I'm going to fold them both as mountain folds. So it's basically a mini card with a gift card pocket. This short side is where the gift card goes. So I'm going to bring out my hotel key gift card situation, and I'm just penciling in to show you where this goes. I'm putting a pencil mark right along the gift card, and I'm showing you I want about 1/8 of an inch between the gift card and where the glue goes. I'm also going to put just a little bit right at the top to make sure it's secured shut. This gift card is getting lifted up and down, like flipped up and down, and I want to make sure it's secure. So you want to make sure that your glue comes far enough in that it's going to hold it. Then I have a bunch of pattern paper that I've cut according to the printable. I've marked on there 4 pieces that are pattern paper and 2 that are white cardstock, but you really only need or want 1 white piece of cardstock. It's just marking which 2 could be it. It's also noting where the bottom is on each cut, right? So the darker piece is the bottom in case you're using a directional pattern. So here on the front of this mini card, I'm including a light blue piece of cardstock instead of pattern paper because I'm going to use some die cuts to create a scene. But you could use ephemera, stamped images, whatever you have. The goal here is for you to be able to use what's in your stash. Here's our larger piece, and I'm going to unfold the whole thing. I have 2 pieces for the bottom that are 2 1/2 by 4 inches, and I'm going to add those to those small sections. If you wanted to write your greeting on one of those, I would do it on this top one, right? The one we just placed down. That's a great place to write your message if you're going to create a scene on the inside of your small card that we made on the green cardstock. Then on the top, we have a piece that's 4 by 5 1/4. You could omit this if you were trying to conserve cardstock, but I like it better with a little bit of extra interest back there. I turned this sideways just to make it easier to see. The short flaps of our card are on the bottom, and for our small card, the fold is on the top because those short flaps are going to fold into the middle of our small card. So I'm going to add glue onto the back and just center it on that back panel, which is a standard A2 size. Once that's glued down, it's really easy to fold the 2 pieces together, and then I can put my gift card into that little flap. So I'm going to tuck it in, and you saw where I put my glue. This is really important. You can see how it is not falling out. That's what keeps it in place. Then I'm going to use a little tape just to hold everything in place while I build my scene. I have some pattern paper that has a faint wood grain. I might have liked a slightly heavier wood grain, but this is what I had. You could use a stamp or a die or whatever you have to create a table. This is the Laboratory Glassware die set from Spellbinders. It's part of a collection called Propagation Garden, and so a lot of the samples that I've seen are using plants and putting them in the glassware, but I didn't want any of the plants. I only requested the glassware die set because I knew I wanted to use it for all my nerds. So I cut 3 of the 5 glassware pieces, and I am just ink blending onto that base die cut a little bit towards the top to create the illusion of roundness. Then there's a separate die that will cut out the pieces of like the liquid inside or the not liquid for the top part, right? Where it's not full all the way to the top. Again, I'm just coming in from the side to create that roundness. And then there's also a piece for the ones that have a flat bottom to show you kind of the bottom roundness of the vessel. So I ink blended that in the darker ink too. If you cut the 2 pieces together, you get this tiny frame. It is teeny, teeny, tiny. So I put glue all the way around it. I tap it off in the back of my hand so my glue doesn't ooze, and then I'm good to go. And I'm going to go ahead and put my liquid down at the bottom And then, because I was feeling fancy, I also cut the pieces for the graduated markers that go up the side of the cylinders. On this one, I'll be honest, I'm not sure I grabbed the right piece with all these little measurements. This is almost too tall. There's two of them about the same size. So play around, see what works for your card. But I only put glue on the very edge and then on the parts that would overlap the blue. There's also a stamp set. You guys, I loved the fonts on this. So even though I didn't get a lot of the plants, I have lots of plants and flowers in my collection. And I loved the sentiments on there, and there's bubbles. So we're gonna use the bubbles. And I'm just adding them to this blue one. I am free range stamping, and I felt like that stamped pretty well, so I shouldn't press my luck. Then I will arrange those on my wood block bench that I created on the front of my card, and I'll start gluing things down. This one is going to go hanging a little bit off to the left, and the blue one a little bit off to the right. I'm keeping an eye on the bottoms of my beakers or my glassware here. I don't want them all on the same level, so all three are at different heights. There's enough layered cardstock on the orange one that I needed just thin foam. Those are 1 millimeter foam squares from Spellbinders on that green one to sort of even everything out. It's not to create dimension, it's just so it's not wonky. Then I'll put my 1.5 by 2.5 inch sentiment mat at the top. If you're going to do a single sentiment, and there's plenty of nerdy sentiments that could go there, cool. All you need is the one. So here are my rectangle sentiments, and I'm going to put this in my trimmer, and I am sliding my trimmer blade up from one tick mark to the next, but I don't go all the way through. I am keeping them connected at the very top. Right? You need to be able to see the tick marks on the sides. So now I still have flaps. They're all connected at the top, and I'll rotate it and I will connect the tick marks on the side. On the rectangle sentiments, there are inside outside jokes, right? So I have this one. It has been scientifically proven. People with more birthdays live longer. And so I'll put this first one on the front. I'm using my removable adhesive in case I change my mind. And then there's a couple places this could go. It could go up on the flap of our gift card holder, at the top of the white section, or at the bottom. I like it best, I think, for this card at the top, but I don't think there's a right or wrong here, right? It's whatever makes the most sense to you. And then I'll put the inside piece again with my removable adhesive. So if I change my mind later and want a different sentiment, I'm good to go. My friends, I had to back my camera way up to show this to you. Here is our finished card. I love this. It's so simple. You don't have to do a nerdy card. You could do this however you want. But that's our 2 card projects for today. I would love to know which of these 2 is your favorite. If you missed that first video, here are the 3 cards I made using just the base sketch and the different types of sentiments that we have. If you are interested in the free printable, all I ask is that you subscribe to my channel, and then you'll find instructions in the description box below the video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.